Hey, good morning, everybody. Hello, Facebook / Freedom Family / everybody. Um, Happy Wednesday. Just kind of getting stuff set up. Hey, look, it's like 10:02 and we're live. Like for the first time in forever, the internet decided to work. No, you do not want me singing Frozen songs. Hi, Mom. How's it going? Um, so anyway, I'm just gonna give everybody a couple minutes to jump on. Next time, hopefully, I'll actually be on a little bit earlier. Good morning. What am I doing? I'm trying to find a scripture passage to read. I know what it is, I promise. I'm just trying to find out where it is. Anyway, so yeah, so just decided to change up the environment a little bit this time around. Just wanted to kind of choose a different scenario, a little bit of a different background for everybody. Like I said, just trying to change it up. Why not? Because we can. So it's Wednesday, it's sunny, it's beautiful outside, and hopefully it stays that way. It's supposed to warm up and be like 70, almost 70 degrees here in Maryland. Hopefully it stays that way. So anyway, well, good morning, everybody. It's just good to see all of you with us. I'm still getting stuff together because I just decided to do this at the last second, which is like the story of my life, trying to come up with ideas at the last possible second. So if you are waiting for me to say something important, it's coming soon, I promise. Unless you're my mom, in which case you're just going to stand there the whole time anyway, just in case something actually happens. Anyway, so hey, Bonnie, there we go. I got my mom on and I got Bonnie here, so we can get rolling because that's pretty much all we've ever needed. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so happy Wednesday, everybody. It's the middle of the week, and so hopefully you're not feeling like the lag of the middle of the week, and kind of feeling down. Hopefully you're kind of feeling like you're still feeling good. I know we're still carrying on in this crisis mode, and we're still figuring out. And even though we don't have necessarily a timeline, hopefully a lot of us are hoping that things are going to kind of start to open, and kind of get in that process. But just because things are going to start to open soon doesn't necessarily mean that everything just jumps back to normal, right? And I know we've talked about this before, but honestly, do we really want normal? Because normal's kind of overrated. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back to what was normal. I want to step into the new normal. We've been saying for like months around here that we believed God was doing something new. We hung on to that passage from Isaiah 43, where God specifically said, "Behold, I am doing something new. Don't you see it? Don't you perceive it?" So we believe God's doing something new, and we believe God is taking us somewhere new. The important thing, though, is are we opening ourselves up to allow God to do something new in here? So anyway, that's a whole other side trail that I could go down, but I'm not going to. So I got something a little bit different stirring in my heart this morning, so I just want to share it with you. So this past week, we talked about what it means to follow Jesus. We're in the middle of a series called Chase the Lion, and what it means to pursue the God that pursues after us. And so as we've just been looking at, what it means to follow Jesus, there was a passage that I didn't get to use in the message that I wanted to use today, and it's from Luke chapter 14, beginning in verse 25. It says, "A large crowd was following Jesus. So he turned around and said to them, 'If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone else by comparison.'" What? Did Jesus just tell me I'm that I'm supposed to hate people? No. That's not what he's saying. He said you must hate everyone else by comparison. What he's about to say is that if you want to be my disciple, you have to love me more than anyone else. He's saying if you want to be a disciple, a follower of Jesus, if you want to follow him, your love for him has to be so great that by comparison, it almost looks like you hate everybody else. He's not giving us permission to hate. He's not telling us to hate. That's not what he's saying. He's telling us that we need to love him first and foremost above everything else. So he says, your father and mother, your wife and children, your brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. And if you do not carry your own cross and follow me, you can't be my disciple. But don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there's enough money to finish it? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money, and then everyone would laugh at you. They would say, there's the person who started that building and couldn't afford to finish it. Or what king would go to war against another king without first sitting down with his counselors to discuss whether his army of 10,000 could defeat the 20,000 soldiers marching against him? If he can't, he'll send a delegation to discuss terms of peace while the enemy's still far, far away. So you cannot become my disciple without giving up everything you own. Now, is he specifically saying right there, everybody go and sell everything you have and give it all up? No, I don't believe that's what he's saying. But I do think he's saying if your love for people, for relationships, if your love for the things in your life is greater than your love for God, it's not going to work being a disciple. But if you want to be his disciple, you got to love him first. You've got to take up your cross and follow him, and you've got to count the cost. We've got to count the cost. We've got to realize that counting the cost is worth it, that there is something, that there's a price to be paid here. And when it comes to following Jesus, the cost is high. It costs us everything. But the cost is worth it. The cost is so worth it. Like, I've been following Jesus for like 20 years-ish now. And even though like I didn't exactly know everything that I was doing at the beginning, I'm so thankful that this has been a process. Can I tell you, there's never been a day that I've looked back and said, oh man, I really wish I had not decided to follow Jesus right now because the price was too high. Not at all. Now, has that mean that every day of following Jesus has been easy? No. Has there never been any hardship or never been any difficulties? No. Of course not. That would be ridiculous. But there was a cost to be paid when it comes to following Jesus, and I'm here to tell you that cost is worth paying. That cost is worth laying down when it comes to being his disciple, when it comes to following after him. And so there are some thoughts that I wrote down just in this morning as I was just kind of spending time in prayer. The first one is this. There was Kyle Idleman wrote a book called Not a Fan. And it's a really, really great book. So if you're looking for a book, to read in the middle of this time period, of this season, I'm going to actually recommend a couple different books today. But Not a Fan by Kyle Idleman is a really great book because what the premise of the book is, I don't want to be a fan, I want to be a follower. I don't want to just be a fan of Jesus. I don't want to be someone that just sits on the sidelines or sits in the stands and cheers him on and kind of knows about him. I want to be a follower. I want to go after him. I want to know him. I want to love him. I want to follow Jesus with everything that I have within me. And as I was thinking about that this morning, like, even as we talked about on Sunday, there are a lot of people that think because I know about Jesus, that means I'm following Jesus. Well, that's not the case. You just because you know about him, just because we do religious things doesn't mean we're following Jesus. But he wants us to follow him in relationship. And guys, this is our time. Like right now. Now is our time. Now is our opportunity. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking around different comments and stuff like that. This is our time, guys. This is our chance to dig into Jesus like never before, to lean into that relationship with him and to follow him. And because here's the thought, we have the tendency to supplement our relationship with God with all of the things that we do that look and seem and feel religious. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense to you. We have the tendency to say, well, I believe in Jesus and I'm a disciple or I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a Christian because I go to church, because I go to that conference, because I go to that Bible study, because I do all of these things. And all of these events and things that I go to in my calendar fuel my relationship with God. And so we feel like we're close to God when we're at church every week. We feel like we're close to God when we're reading our Bible because of the duty of checking the list. We feel like we're close to God when we go to big conferences. We feel like we're close to God when we're in 17 different Bible studies in one day. But can I tell you, we have spent way too much time allowing and relying on the conferences and the events, and honestly, even the church services and the youth services and the things that we go to. We've relied on those things to fuel and basically supplement our relationship with God for far too long. And I kind of feel like God has allowed this coronavirus thing to shut everything down, to show us, yo, I want face-to-face time with you. I don't want a relationship with you just because you go to that conference, just because you're at that church service, just because you go to that youth service, just because you hear that speaker, just because you got a ministry leader or a pastor or a youth leader or somebody that's encouraging you and in your face telling you that you've got to seek after God and you're supposed to have a relationship and you're supposed to care. Guys, I think we've allowed those things to be our relationship with God for far too long. And I think God's trying to say, guys, now's the time to dig in. Now's the time to dig deep. Now's the time to go after him, not going after a service, not going after an experience, not going after a conference, but going after God because we want more of him, because we want to see him move in our world, because we want him to do something new in us. Guys, now's the time. Now's the best opportunity. Why don't we do those things before? Why do we rely on the conference and the church service and all that stuff to do it for us? Because we're really good at being busy. We're really good at allowing all the busyness to dictate our lives. And so when we're doing all those things, we feel like we're being spiritual because we're busy with spiritual things. But let's be honest, just because we're busy with spiritual things doesn't mean we have a relationship with God. Just because we're busy with spiritual things doesn't mean that we're actually close to God. It doesn't mean we're following Jesus. It doesn't. What it means is that we're good at being busy doing spiritual things. But now is our time to dig in. And here's kind of the thought, and this was a hard thought for me to even think of this morning. And so I need you to hear my heart even as I'm about to say it, because this is challenging to me just as much as I hope it challenges you. You ready? We've gotten spiritually fat and lazy from all the spiritual things that have been catered to us. We've gotten too spiritually fat and lazy from all of the spiritual things that have been catered to us. Like our church services, our conferences, all the things that we do have just been catered to us spiritually. We don't even know how to work for it anymore. And so here we are stuck in quarantine, and if it wasn't for online church, if it wasn't for online Bible studies, if it wasn't for all these things that just showed up to supplement all of those things that we're used to doing, would we still have a relationship with God? Or would we be even more fervent and passionate about following after him? And so that, I almost think we've gotten so lazy, we've gotten so complacent that some of us don't even know. We've forgotten how to dig in. We've forgotten how to cultivate and passionately pursue Jesus for ourselves. Listen, I'm not saying we're supposed to follow Jesus by ourselves. What I'm saying is we need to follow Jesus for ourselves. Not because mommy and daddy said I have to, not because my youth pastor tells me I've got to when I'm stuck there on a Wednesday night, not because my pastor is in the middle of a series about following or about learning how to pursue Jesus, not because I'm at church. I'm going to follow him, I'm going to pursue him because I need him, because I need to know him, I need to love him, I need to follow him. And so, guys, we can't depend on another church service to do that. We can't depend on another youth service to do that. We can't depend on a conference. We can't depend on a ministry leader to fuel and keep poking us and prodding us into following Jesus. We've got to do it. We've got to fuel our passion for God. We've got to go after him. We've got to pursue that relationship. So you know what that means? It's up to us. It's up to us. Right here, right now, this is the time to give it all to Jesus and pursue him like never before, y'all. This is the best opportunity to do it. This is the best opportunity. And so there are a couple of verses that I wrote down that just kind of like that. These are verses that just always kind of come back to me. They're verses that always just like encourage me and challenge me. And it's this. One of them is in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, where Paul is talking to Timothy, and he says, fan into flame the spiritual gift that is in you. And you know, we like to use that when we talk about spiritual gifts, and we like to use that when it comes to just like different potential and things that God puts in somebody. But you know, the imperative word there that sometimes gets overlooked. I think Paul is basically telling Timothy, you fan into flames the gift that is in you. You stoke those fires. You are the one that has the responsibility to stir up that gift and stir up those flames and stir up that passion for God. Like, it's up to us individually, y'all, to do that. And for far too long, we've just gotten used to saying, well, if my church, I'm just not growing at this church. I'm not being fed. No one's challenging me spiritually. Nobody's doing this. This church doesn't meet my needs. This youth ministry isn't really connecting to me, and it doesn't have anything fun, and it's not helping me grow. Guys, if we're not growing, if I'm not growing in my relationship with God, you know whose fault that is? Mine. It's not the church's fault. It's not my wife's fault. It's not the pastor's fault. It's not the ministry's fault. It's not the program's fault. It's mine. And so this is the best opportunity for us to dig in and say, God, I'm going to fan those flames. I'm going to stir that gift. I'm going to allow you to do something in me that I need you to do, because I'm growing stale, I'm growing stagnant, and I'm staying in the same place for far too long. And so the next verse is from Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 13, which says, if you seek me, you will find me when you search for me with all your heart. And so God is letting us know, again, he's the one pursuing us. And he's saying that if we pursue him with all of our heart, with everything that we have, we're going to find him. He says, I will be found by you. And so it's a challenge. Guys, God is challenging us. Do you understand that? God is challenging us, and he's saying, yo, if you seek after me with everything, you're going to find me. So what are we waiting for? What in the world are we waiting for? Let's go after him. Let's dig into him. Let's fan those flames. Let's stir that gift. Let's stoke that fire. And let's let him create something new inside of us. The last verse I just want to share is 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. Not to be confused with 2 Timothy. This one's from 1 Timothy. So pray for me if the internet's not working, because I'm a little bit disconnected, but it's all good. So anyway, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8 says, physical training is good. Physical training has some value, but, wherever you are right now, say but. Get old but training yourself for godliness is much better. Physical training is great. Physical training has a lot of great value, but training for godliness is much better. And the rest of the verse goes on to say it has benefits in this life and in the life to come. We've got to do everything that we can to train ourselves in godliness right now. I'm not just talking about following all the religious rules. I'm not talking about the do's and don'ts that we learned as a kid, that we think church and being in a relationship with God is all about. What I'm talking about is pushing ourselves, challenging ourselves, strengthening ourselves spiritually, to realize that I'm going to go after God. I'm going to follow him, and I don't care what I got to lay down. I don't care what I've got to lay behind, because I'm giving him everything. So what are we waiting for? What are you waiting for today? What are you waiting for this week? What are you waiting for in this season? We always have an excuse, don't we? We always have an excuse of why we can't give God everything, of why we can't give him 120%. Well, as soon as this thing is done, as soon as I get through this season, as soon as that project is over, as soon as life slows down, as soon as the summer hits, as soon as school, blah, 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 blah. We're really great at throwing 1,000 different excuses at God for all the things that we think we don't have time to do. But can I just tell you, what are we waiting for? Now is the time. Now's the time to jump in and go after him. And this has been my prayer within the last week. I think I started to share it a little bit in one of the Wednesday What's Up, but this has been my prayer. God, reignite a new fire within my heart to passionately pursue you today. God, do something new in my heart right now. God, birth a revival in my heart because I need it. Because, God, I need you to resurrect some dry bones. Because I need you to breathe life into some barren places, because I need you to find the places in my heart that have died down. I need you, God, to find the places in my heart that have gotten too lazy and gotten too complacent and gotten too weak. And I need you to breathe life. I need you to breathe fire. I need you to breathe passion back into my heart again. Bring me to life. Resurrect my hunger and my desire to know you with a greater fervency than I've ever known before. So guys, what are we waiting for? Like, this should be the moment, this should be the season that we jump so far into our relationship with God that we just don't even look anything close to the way we did before. Like, we should just be bursting at the seams with our passion, with our zeal, and with our fervency for more of Jesus. So now's the time to stop being lazy, y'all. Now's the time to stop being complacent. Now's the time this is the greatest opportunity right now to chase after God without busyness being our distraction, without all the things going on to be our distraction. This is our time. What are we doing with it? What are you doing with it? I'm sorry if that felt like I just like rammed, like jumped on top of a soapbox and just like preached whatever down all up in your face. It's just what was on my heart today, and I feel like this is the greatest opportunity. Like, guys, I'm tired. I'm tired of just being lazy about it. I'm tired of being complacent about it. I'm tired of just kind of like going through the motions, doing our thing. Like, I'm tired of relying on other things to fuel my spiritual fire. It's my job to go after him. It's my job to spend time connecting to him. It's my job to grow deeper. It's my job to get in on my face and seek his face and say, God, show up in my life. Show me who you are. Show me your glory. Show me your presence. Rebirth that fire in me, because I want to love you and follow you and know you with more passion than I ever have at any point in my life. And so, guys, I don't know if that encourages you. I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't bring condemnation. Hopefully, it doesn't bring guilt. Hopefully, it doesn't shame you and make you feel like, oh, I'm horrible at this thing. I'm just going to quit. Please know that's not my heart. And please don't walk away from this feeling like that's what I'm saying, or that's what I'm talking about, or that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to encourage you, and I really want us as believers, as followers of Jesus, to take advantage of this opportunity to stoke those fires, to fan those flames, to let him birth something new, to reignite a revival in our hearts individually. And then watch what he does. Watch what he does, guys. Go after him. So a couple books that I said I wanted to mention. The first one, Not a Fan, by Kyle Idleman. I meant to grab copies of these to show you, but I forgot to. So if you just look up Not a Fan by Kyle Idleman, great book. Just, again, about following Jesus and not just kind of sitting on the sidelines. The other book is called I Am a Follower by Leonard Sweet. It's called The Way, the Truth, and Life of Following Jesus, because it's never been about leading. It's always been about following. So, like, this is such a great, like, on Sunday we talked about how being a follower is a part of our identity, because that's just who we are. I'm a follower. And then the last book is called Basic Discipleship by Floyd McClung. Now, I don't think it's called Basic Discipleship anymore. I think they kind of changed it up, but if you just look up Floyd McClung, he just digs into some really great stuff on what it means to actually be a disciple and to give our lives to Jesus. So I love you guys. I hope you have a great Wednesday. Hopefully I've just kind of like poked those embers a little bit and kind of like fueled some fire in you. Hopefully I didn't make you like feel like I was just drowning on and on and on and on about something. And then the last thing that I just want to remind you of, if you're part of our Freedom family, on Sunday morning we're doing our new community coffee corner at 9:30, from 9:30 to 9:50. So it's just a great opportunity for us to get online together in a Zoom room and just see one another. So I love you guys. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great Wednesday. Enjoy this beautiful weather, and be intentional. Be intentional today. What are you doing today? Even if you got to get alone with God all by yourself and just say, God, Am I passionate about our relationship? Am I really going after you, or have I gotten lazy? Have I slipped the gear into neutral? Have I just kind of am I starting to let this thing run on autopilot? Or is my passion for you as strong as it ever has been? Because if it's not, guys, let's dig into that. Let's lean into that. I'm not saying you got to be perfect, but let's go after them, and let's go after them together. So I love you. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you later. Okay? Bye.